global controls will have to be imposed, and a world governing body will be created to enforce them. Crises precipitate change.
Secretly plotting your demise. I want to devise a virus.
Hello everyone, Durko 2012 here with Global Government News. I'm covering an article titled Cryptome Case Reveals How Easy It Is to Shut Down Websites, written by Cryptome of InfoWars, February 25th, 2010. This comes to no surprise to most of us who know that the internet is under attack. And if you haven't seen any of my videos previous to this one, I suggest you check it out. It says Red Alert, Internet Under Attack, by government. So, and it's a 6-part series, and it basically documents all of the calls for censoring the internet and shutting it down as well, in the name of security, when it's under direct attack by cyber attack, they're calling it. And this is the reality. They want licenses for the internet. They want all of us to have licenses for the internet so that it's just another step. I mean, they literally say it's too free. These guys, these Rockefellers and all these people, they're not really writing the laws, they're just sponsoring. I mean, they come from the corporations, they come from these bankers, and they, Gates and all them, they say it's too free. The internet is too free. In other words, the internet is one of the best tools that we have in our arsenal, one of the best weapons in our battery to fight these fascists with, and they don't like it. And they should have shut it down a long time ago. And so all we got to do now is just keep talking about this surveillance grid, this privacy issue as far as censoring the internet and shutting it down and shutting websites down. Because these guys want to have internet licenses. And if it means that they have to carry out a, quote, cyber attack on their own infrastructure, their own financial infrastructure, like attack a bank or something like that through the internet, then they'll do it. And then they have these things like simulated cyber attack war game, which I covered as well, but that they had just recently. And they try to roll it out to the public, saying, getting them ready for a cyber attack, and they put little stories on Yahoo about it. So they're just preparing and acclimating the public for this cyber attack so that they can pass this global treaty, this Manhattan Project of the internet that the DARPA has been working on since 2008, at least, having billions of dollars of funds to do this, getting ready to roll out this telecommunications treaty. That is another global treaty, just as much as everything else is global in this global government, right? So here we go. It says, earlier this week, Microsoft had the whistleblower website Cryptome erased from the web. And it says, all the sprawling transnational corporation had to do was file a DMCA notice alleging copyright infringement on Cryptome's proprietor John Young, and Network Solutions did the rest. It locked up Cryptome's domain name, thus disappearing the site from the web. Cryptome had posted a Microsoft surveillance compliance document that the transnational corporation gives to law enforcement agents seeking information on Microsoft users. No court ruling was required. Microsoft merely instructed Cryptome's ISPs to pull the plug. In 2009, when the Senate was debating a cybersecurity bill and Senator Jay Rockefeller lamented the existence of the internet, many people argued that the government would be hard-pressed to shut down the internet, even if Obama had the authority to flip the switch during a national crisis. And they call it a cyber attack emergency. As the proposed bill suggested, the government, however, would not darken the entire internet, as some suggested, but would rather remove certain sites deemed to be threats to national security, according to our rulers. Domain names are kept in databases maintained by various network information centers as part of the domain name system. Some name registries are government departments, while others are cooperative cooperatives of internet service providers, for instance, Network Solutions. The system is currently dominated the United States, Canada, Europe, and Japan. In 2004, a United Nations summit was held in New York on globalizing the system. Then UN Secretary General Kofi Annan argued that the system, quote, must be accessible and responsive to the needs of all the world's people. In other words, the globalists who establish and run the United Nations behind the scenes. In 2005, the European Union argued in favor of wresting control of the internet away from the United States. Meanwhile, the U.S. government has launched a major propaganda effort with accompanying legislation to push the idea that the internet is under attack by nefarious forces. And they'll say it's financial, attacking institutions, and all the other stuff. Earlier this week, on the heels of a so-called cybersecurity bill, the Cybersecurity Act of 2009 overwhelmingly passed in the House, Rockefeller held a hearing where witnesses offered dire warnings about the alleged vulnerabilities of the U.S. digital networks, which are largely owned and operated by firms in the private sector. Quote, "We've got to give the president the right to intervene," Rockefeller said. "That's controversial. That'll always be controversial." Censorship and squelch, it's nice that he can, at least acknowledge that, right? Or as they just roll forward with their stupid agenda. Well, it's not stupid. To them, it's just an agenda that they feel it's their inherent right to rule over us. So, censorship and squelching the First Amendment, of course, will always be controversial. In April of 2009, Rockefeller and co-sponsor Olympia Snowe introduced legislation, the Cybersecurity Act of 2009, containing language that would allow Obama to shut down the internet in the event of a cyber attack on critical infrastructure. And those are the key words that you have to remember, because it's going to be most likely a financial institution, probably a New World Order, pro-New World Order, pro-globalization type, like Chase Manhattan or Citibank, or you never know. Maybe they'll just carry it out against one of their competitors. That's one of the tools that they like to do. But they also like to blow up their own buildings, like the IRS building and the World Trade Centers. And if you're not in that inner core, that inner circle of the elites, well then, hey, you just get fucking killed. So that's just how they roll. That's how they do it. So, but they also like swallowing up and gobbling up and consolidating their power by taking out the competition. So they're like killing two birds with one stone, in other words. So who knows? Maybe they'll carry it out on they took out WAMU, who was a solvent bank, and maybe they'll just do something like that, similar to that. They'll carry out a cyber attack on critical infrastructure of one of their competitors, one of the New World Order's competitors, who's a legitimate business and who has morals and principles. Earlier this month, Bipartisan Policy Center, hosted by Cyber Shockwave, a simulated cyber attack on the United States. Like that, they always like to do that, simulates attacks on the United States before the government does it or allows it to happen. Cyber Shockwave highlighted the immediate real dangers of cyber terrorism by bringing together a bipartisan group. That means bipartisan, I love that. Group of former senior administration and national security officials playing the roles of cabinet members. That just means that they're just a bunch of fascist pigs that don't have any loyalty to Americans. So they call it bipartisan because they're working together for your protection and your prosperity, America. Don't you just love it? Like the healthcare, a bipartisan meeting. Enough of this bickering between two parties as if there is a separation or something. Last week, CNN ran a 2-hour production, We Were Warned, Cyber Shockwave, based upon the exclusive television access to the BPC cyber wargame scenario. Politicos participating in this slick propaganda campaign suggested nationalizing private sector corporations and federalizing the National Guard in response to cyber attacks. So there you go, guys. That's pretty much it. That's all I can get to. This says the case reveals how effortless this process will be, and yeah, they could just shut down websites and attack themselves and play the victims and pass legislation, all for a threat. And who's the threat? They are. Thank you.